I'm in no rush for a new 3D Mario game right now. We just got Donkey Kong Bonanza, which was developed by the Odyssey team, and it definitely scratches that 3D Mario itch, despite not actually being a 3D Mario game. I think it would be perfectly fine if we still waited a couple years for a new 3D Mario game. However, I don't think there's anything wrong with speculating about the future of 3D Mario, since myself, as well as many others, are curious about what the future holds for this series. With Mario's 40th anniversary, we've seen a lot of theming around Mario Galaxy. Galaxy 1+2 just released a couple days ago, and we are also getting a physical Rosalina storybook next month. Of course, this is because we are getting a Mario Galaxy movie, but I think it might also be hinting at the future of 3D Mario, since the next 3D Mario game might actually be Galaxy 3. I just think it makes a ton of sense to kind of pair Galaxy 3 with the Galaxy movie. Of course, it wouldn't release right around the time the movie released. It would probably be like Wonder and release several months later, or even like a little while later. But sometime not too long after the movie, I think it would make sense if we got Galaxy 3. Originally, I wasn't a huge fan of Galaxy 3 because I thought it would have been more interesting to get a direct sequel to Odyssey or Sunshine instead, because their ideas haven't been fully fleshed out, and there's also the possibility that Galaxy 3 could be a bit too similar to Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2. But the more I think about it, I think Galaxy 3 still makes quite a lot of sense. The Mario Galaxy subseries offers practically an infinite amount of possibilities due to how flexible its level structure is. The levels in the series can both allow for an open sandbox style, like Honey Pipe Galaxy or Starshine Beach Galaxy, or the more linear style, like with Puzzle Plank Galaxy or Battle Rock Galaxy. I feel like Galaxy 1 and 2 are like the perfect middle ground between that linear 3D Mario and open 3D Mario. So I think there's a lot of possibilities with what they could work with for a new game. And this formula also allows for plenty of new mechanics to make it feel fresh, like Yoshi in Galaxy 2, and even like the power-ups in the Galaxy games have like a lot of different interesting ideas there. There's gimmicks in a lot of different galaxies, so I think there are tons of opportunities to make things feel fresh. And I also feel like a Galaxy game could definitely flourish creatively in the post-Wonder era. We're fully out of the Mario mandates, if they ever existed. Now is really the time to take advantage of how creative and interesting the Mario franchise can be with all of these wacky character designs and locations and things. I know Odyssey already did that, but we're kind of like, the franchise just fully as a whole is kind of flourishing in creative ideas. So I think a Galaxy game could definitely take advantage of that. And another interesting reason is the fact that 2000s nostalgia is in full force. Yes, I know that nostalgia pandering isn't exactly the best move, but we've been getting a lot of good things out of that 2000s nostalgia angle from Nintendo, like the Thousand Year Door remake, the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake, the GameCube games on Nintendo Switch Online, Kirby Air Riders, which is a revival of a 2000s era game, even Galaxy 1+2 is kind of like going off of that as well. So I think a Galaxy 3 would definitely make sense, considering Nintendo has been pushing that nostalgia quite a lot for like a game that is about like 20 years old now. So that is definitely another reason to consider there. But I think there's a lot of ideas for what a Galaxy 3 could look like, since, like I said, there's like an infinite amount of possibilities. But I think they'll actually do open sandbox levels like Odyssey that will include a few massive planets, but will also have sections that extend out from the main planets, and each of those sections would contain comet missions, but all of those sections would be contained within the same galaxy, kind of having like a bunch of massive areas. I would say probably about a dozen of these areas. So I think that would be pretty interesting. I would definitely like to see the Galaxy formula go into that more open sandbox style. I think it definitely works in that formula as long as they handle it well. I feel like Power Stars will be very prevalent, not quite as prevalent as Odyssey's Moon Count, possibly a bit closer to Bonanza's Bonandium Gem Count. Kind of something where you don't like ground pound somewhere and it spawns a star. It will have like dedicated missions as well as ones you could just do like little platforming challenges to get to. I just think that makes a lot of sense. I kind of like there being like a lot of collectibles in one area just to make things feel a little more interesting and to encourage exploration. I definitely want a Galaxy game to kind of have a more exploratory angle to it. And then another thing is a new villain. Bowser obviously would still play a role, but I think a new villain, or even a returning villain like Tatanga, could make this feel more original rather than just a rehash of Galaxy 1 and 2. I just think it would make the identity feel a little more original. And then with the power-ups, I feel like they would be less limited, like Bowser's Fury, and the levels would be designed around that. Because I do think the power-ups feel a bit limited in the Galaxy games. You either only have them for a certain amount of time, or they're limited in terms of abilities. So I'd like to see a wider range of things that you can do with power-ups, and more levels like actually designed around them. And they could also do things like where there's like a power-up reserve, like Bowser's Fury. I think that would make a lot of sense there. So just more flexibility with the power-ups would feel nice. It would definitely kind of mix up the gameplay a little bit, kind of like how it does in 3D World and Bowser's Fury. So I just really like to see that. And also some sort of new mechanic comparable to Yoshi, like something that fits within like the open sandbox structure and works pretty well. I don't know what it could be, because like I said, there's a ton of possibilities, but I think they could cook up some kind of interesting new mechanic. And I'd also like to see Yoshi return as well. And then, less focus on motion control gimmicks. Obviously, the gyro is okay, and I'd also like to see mouse controls as well kind of implemented. But I'd like to see, like, less focus on, like, all of the motion control things that, like, Galaxy 1 and 2 have, because this would be a Switch 2 game, not a Wii game. So I think it would be designed around that hardware. And then finally, I'm going to go into some storybook spoilers for the new storybook added in Galaxy 2, so if you don't want to be spoiled, be aware of that. But I think if we get a Galaxy 3, we could see Lubba reunite with her sister, and I think that would be really nice to see, and it would kind of conclude that arc, since Mary, Lubba's sister, was on the search for Lubba at the end of the Galaxy 2 storybook, so I think that would be really nice. And she could even take on like a new form as well, since she's transformed into a star a couple times. So maybe she has like a new form, almost kind of similar to like Lubba, but maybe a little different. But I think that would be pretty interesting, and it would be a really nice conclusion. But anyways, those are some of my ideas for Galaxy 3. I think it's definitely possible now, since Nintendo is releasing a lot of Galaxy-related things, and with the Galaxy movie happening, I feel like this makes it even more likely. But let me know what you think down in the comments. And anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!